Hey folks, here we are. Back again, your Canadian Info Wrangler coming at you one more week through the power of the interwebs. And I've been playing around with my audio input settings today. So I hope things sound better. I hope you don't hear that bus going by. But I hope things sound better on here, because I found a tweak that I wasn't aware. Well, I was aware of it, but I wasn't aware that it was turned down. So that was causing some contention here with the microphone. So anyway, what are we doing now that the tour of all the churches is over? Well, I'll tell you what we're doing. We're going to jump into Linux reviews, just as I said a couple weeks ago. Now, to that end, I've purchased a second monitor because it's a lot easier to record what's going on the desktop on another monitor instead of right in front of you. And it wasn't expensive. I think it was $130. It's a good LG 24-inch. And the other thing I bought is an enclosure for an NVMe SSD. And the reason why I bought that is because I can use that for the distros that I'm downloading to try out rather than putting them on my main drive in my tower. And the reason why it's NVMe is just because I've gone NVMe. All my drives are now NVMe. Except for the drives in my media server, because for whatever reason it's not recommended to use NVMe for storage drives. I don't really know a whole lot about the NVMe technology. Maybe it doesn't lend itself well to constant reading and writing. I don't know. But they say you can put TrueNAS, which is the operating system for the media server. They say you can put TrueNAS on an SSD, but it's highly recommended that your storage drives be HDDs, hard drives. So that's what it is. But my main system up here is NVMe. Even my laptop at 15 years old has an SSD in it. So that's what I'm going with these days. It's not an NVMe in the laptop, though. That laptop is older than NVMe technology is. Unfortunately, more's the pity. But anyway, I decided I would start out with a follow-up review of Bazzite Linux, or Linux Bazzite, however you want to call it. It's funny because almost every other distro out there, people will say the distro name Linux, like Bazzite Linux, Fedora Linux, Debian Linux, etc., etc. But when it comes to Mint, everybody says Linux Mint. I find that kind of funny. Anyways, so I've been using Bazzite now for 6 or 7 weeks, I guess. And in that time, how many times have I shut down and logged back into Windows? Once. Just to let Windows run updates, and then I switched right back to Bazzite. So for all intents and purposes, I've been using Bazzite for the last 6 or 7 weeks exclusively. I haven't been using Windows at all. And I like it. I really like it. I've played around with a lot of other distros in the past, and none of them got me to use it so exclusively for so long. I remember back in the days when Ubuntu had just come out, I would order the newest version every year. Well, it had a 6-month release cycle, but the long-term support release was always in, I believe it was in April, and then the more experimental, unstable version would come out in October, and then it would be stabilized and released as a stable release in April again. So every April, I was ordering the newest release of Ubuntu, and I was playing with it. And, you know, I'd play with it for a week or two, but never exclusively. And the reason why was because I was a gamer. Nowadays, I'm not as much of a gamer as I used to be. Back then, I was into World of Warcraft hardcore. And Linux, even now, doesn't work with online games. Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, whatever. I can't think of any others right now. Elder Scrolls Online. It doesn't work with them. And I don't know the exact reason because, again, I'm not a coder. But it has something to do with the anti-cheat software. Something about Linux, it's not that Linux is a cheat, but something about Linux triggers the anti-cheat software. Doesn't play well with it. So even now, you can't run online games on Linux. But I don't play online games anymore. Nowadays, I play local RPGs, role-playing games, like Cyberpunk 2077 is on the top of my desktop right now. Starfield is another one. Starfield is Bethesda's latest release. Sort of along the same lines as the Elder Scrolls series, but and the Fallout series, but Starfield takes place in a far distant future where things are a little nicer than they are in the Fallout series. So Bethesda now has the medieval fantasy in Elder Scrolls series. They have the post-apocalyptic in the Fallout series, and now they've got more of a sci-fi adventure in the Starfield. Whether or not Starfield is going to become a series, I have no idea, but I'm playing the first one. And another game I'm playing is called The Long Dark. It's an interesting survival game where you find yourself in, well, you're not sure if it's a post-apocalyptic wasteland or what it is. It's got to be, you know, post-apocalyptic because it's like nuclear winter almost. It's winter when you wake up anyway, and there's nobody in any of the towns and villages that you come to. You're the only person. So I haven't read the lore on it, so I don't know if maybe it actually says it in there and I just haven't read it, but you know, I'm not aware of it being any kind of nuclear winter, but it's obviously something like that. I haven't gotten too far into it, so I don't know. Maybe somebody can tell me in the comments. Hey, there you go. While we're at it, hit the like button and hit the subscribe button and hit the notifications bell. I don't like the notifications bell, but I'm supposed to tell you to hit it anyway. It's up to you. I mean, if you want to be notified when I make a new video, then hit the notifications bell. Personally, I don't like getting the notifications myself, so I never hit the notifications bell on channels I follow. But I do subscribe, and I do hit like on every one of their videos, unless I really disliked it. Even if it's just kind of so-so, I would still give it a like, just because I like the channel in general. So, yeah, Starfield I'm playing, The Long Dark I'm playing, and Cyberpunk 2077. That one is probably self-explanatory by the title. So, and I'm playing them in Bazzite, right? I can play Fallout. I've tried running it. It works great. Elder Scrolls Skyrim, it works great too. I'm just bored with those games, so I didn't bother keeping them on here. I installed them just to try them out and see how well they worked, and they worked great. So hopefully, as things progress, my production value is going to get better. I'm going to learn more about what I'm doing here, making videos. Like one thing I don't often think about doing is overlaying text on the screen for whatever various reasons. And I'm probably not going to do it today either. But it is something I know how to do, so I could do it if the situation called for it. So, I'm far from an expert in Linux, and I'm far from an expert in editing videos. But none of these are going to be a step-by-step guide, but in future videos, I will show you the installation process. I'm just not doing it on this one because it's already installed and I've been using it for 6 weeks. I don't want to reinstall it. But when I do decide to install a new distro on that shiny new NVMe drive I bought, I'm going to do it on that shiny new monitor I bought, and I'm going to show you step by step. And again, it's not going to be a step-by-step guide. I'm just going to show you what I'm doing. I'm not an expert, and I don't play one on YouTube. So, one thing that a lot of people would like about Bazzite is that it has a handheld edition. So if you've got one of those, I think it's called Legends, it's basically a handheld PC, and it's built around gaming. If you've got one of those, it runs, I think the Legends PC runs Steam Deck, but you could run Bazzite if you wanted to, the same way that Steam Deck runs on that system. And any other handheld you may have that perhaps runs a version of Windows or something like that, you could most likely run Bazzite on it instead if you wanted to. Because Bazzite does have a handheld edition. And I'm not really sure what all would be involved in installing that on a handheld PC. I don't really know, because I use the desktop version and I don't have a handheld PC. One of the questions that I figured people would probably be asking, now that I've been using this for 6 or 7 weeks and I haven't gone into Windows once, other than that one time to install updates, but that doesn't really count because I didn't actually use Windows. I just let it install updates and then I booted back into Bazzite. So the question might be, is it a Windows killer? And my answer would be almost. Almost. It runs everything that I've put through it. It's great for recording my videos, editing my videos, recording audio with Audacity. I edit and render my videos with OpenShot, which is a cross-platform software video editor. Uploading to YouTube is never a problem. It runs OBS Studio is another cross-platform piece of software that I run. I used it in Windows and I'm now using it in Bazzite, and there's no difference. Bazzite picked up my webcam right away, no problem. Picked up my microphone. It picked up my video card. There was no hardware issues at all when I installed Bazzite, and I haven't run into any yet, So, however, I will say that One issue that I did run into, and it's more my fault than anything else, but Bazzite is what they call an immutable distro, which means you can't change the guts, which you can usually do with Linux. But with Bazzite, you cannot alter system files. And where I had a problem with that was I had Windows, Linux Mint. Yeah, I had Windows and Linux Mint originally running on this system when I decided I was going to try Bazzite. And what I did was I created a partition on my D drive to install Bazzite to that partition. I got partway through the installation process, and before it actually started writing any system files, I changed my mind. I decided I was going to do it on its own separate drive. So once the drive came in from Amazon, I installed it, and then I installed Bazzite on that drive. Well, what happened was the bootloader. If any of you have ever dual booted a system before, meaning you installed Windows and Linux on it, you know what a bootloader is. For those of you who don't, basically what happens is after you've installed Linux beside Windows, a screen will pop up and it'll give you the option of booting to Windows or booting to Linux, and you can choose whichever one you want. Well, my bootloader had Windows, Mint, and 2 Bazzites. Now, I knew which one was the working Bazzite and which one wasn't. And I decided that for now I was going to get rid of Mint. And the next time I install Mint will be on the separate portable drive that I bought for that purpose. So I decided, okay, I went into the program in Bazzite called Disks, which is pretty self-explanatory. It pulls up your disks and shows you everything. So I went in there and I deleted the Mint partition and I deleted the unused Bazzite partition. And then I ran the bootloader editing program so that I could remove those entries from the bootloader so that all I would be left with is Windows and Bazzite. Well, it wouldn't let me do that because the bootloader.cfg is a system file. And Bazzite doesn't allow you to edit system files. So that's one example of where Bazzite, being an immutable OS, has caused a bit of a problem. But it's very minor. And I can live with it. You know, I know which one is the unused Bazzite, and eventually what I'll probably do is I'll back everything up and I'll reinstall Windows, I'll wipe everything off the drives, I'll reinstall Windows, and then I'll reinstall Bazzite beside it, and then I'll have a nice clean bootloader. Eventually. Right now I don't feel like doing that, and right now I can live with it because it's working fine, and I know which one is the working Bazzite and which one isn't. So that's not a problem, but yeah, eventually I'll fix it. There's another distro out there that apparently plays really well with games as well, and that's called Cachy OS. Cachy OS. And I will be featuring that one here when I get a chance to set everything up and try it out. And I'll let you know what I think of that one, because if it's as good as what I'm seeing on YouTube, it might become my new daily driver. I might get rid of Bazzite just because it's an immutable OS. If Cachy is not immutable, then there's a good chance I might do that. But right now, I'm really liking Bazzite. It looks cool. If you haven't seen that video, can I show it to you? Let's see here. Well, I mean, I could, but it's easier if you just go back to my first review of Bazzite. It's only a few videos down in the list, so you should be able to find it fairly easily. And I think that's going to wrap it up for this video. You know, I would like to let you choose the distro I feature next. Unfortunately, there's not enough of you watching. But if you guys want to prove me wrong and get into the comments section there and tell me what I should run next, I'll give it a shot. I'll watch the comments and I'll try whatever distro seems to get suggested the most. But I have my doubts that there's going to be that many comments, because so far on all my videos I've only had Gary and Mark commenting, so I know Gary's going to be on there and he'll probably tell me to try out Debian, which is on the list for sure. But if nobody comes on and makes any suggestions, I will probably go with Mint next week, just because I know a little bit about it already. I've used it for a while. And then probably go with Cache after that, and then Debian, and then et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's so many distros. I could probably do this for 3 years and not run out of distros to feature. So anyway, that having been said, and you know, like I said, my production quality is going to get better as my knowledge increases on what I'm doing here. I'm paying attention to things that I'm learning. So, yeah. So on that note, God's willing, Daffy Duck willing, we'll see y'all in the next video. Ciao for now.